He thought I was asleep. He didn't know I was already in the office, and he definitely didn't expect me to find the file hidden in his private folder. Leadership transition plan. Slide 1, remove me as CEO. Slide 2, install himself and a new chief science officer. Slide 3, relegate me, the founder, to a powerless advisory role. My husband and my father, plotting together to erase me from the company I built from nothing. I stared at the screen, cold fury rising in my chest. They had been planning this for months. While I was in the lab, refining the technology, they were behind closed doors, carving up my future. My name is Dr. Sophia Chen, and this is the story of how I fought to take back everything they tried to steal. It started with an email. Emergency board meeting 10 Zuncho a.m. sharp. No subject, no explanation. Sent at 12:03 a.m. by my husband Michael. And my name. Not on the list. Michael was Horizon Biotech's CFO, but I was the one who created the company. I developed the enzyme-based process that could revolutionize plastic degradation. 6 years ago, I risked everything. Mortgaged my house, drained my savings, gave up tenure to build this company. Back then, neither my husband nor my father believed in it. Academic nonsense, my father called it. An interesting science project. Michael smirked. But after 3 years of failure, long nights, and one small pilot that finally worked, we took off. By year 4, we had real offices. By year 6, we were partnering with waste management companies on 3 continents. That's when Michael wanted in. You handle the science, he told me. Let me run the business. I was exhausted. I said yes. And that's when the slow erasure began. Investor meetings without me. Board decisions I wasn't invited to. And every time I raised my voice, Michael would smile and say, "Trust me, Sophia. I'm just freeing you up to do what you do best." Turns out what he thought I did best was disappear. I couldn't sleep. Not after what I saw. Not with that plan echoing in my head. Every bullet point, every diagram detailing how they'd dismantle everything I'd built. And for what? To make room for themselves. I sat alone in the dark of my home office. My body frozen, but my mind racing. I thought of all the sacrifices. 6 years of missed birthdays, ramen dinners, and falling asleep in the lab chair because there was no one else to finish the job. They hadn't just underestimated me, they'd erased me. By 1:00 a.m., I wasn't even angry anymore. I was focused, cold, clear. That was the moment I decided they wouldn't win. Not like this. I dug deeper into our server, into Michael's folders, into emails I wasn't supposed to see. At 1:27 a.m., I struck gold and poison, a full presentation. Horizon, restructuring, confidential. Slide after slide spelled out the betrayal. They'd already drafted a timeline, reached out to a new chief science officer, even prepared talking points to spin it as a necessary evolution of leadership. Their excuse: Sophia lacks business scalability. She's too emotionally tied to the science. Her leadership is no longer aligned with Horizon's growth trajectory. They were rewriting the narrative. Not just removing me, but redefining me. And they planned to do it quietly, with smiles, press releases, and a polished knife in the back. At 2:00 a.m., I heard the door unlock. Michael was home. I closed every window on the screen, shut down the computer, slid back under the covers. I lay perfectly still as he walked into the room, took off his tie, and climbed into bed. He didn't touch me, didn't speak, just turned away like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. And something in me, something buried deep under exhaustion and compromise, snapped back to life. I stared at the ceiling, every nerve wired and alive. This company was mine, the science, the vision, the story. And I wasn't going to let them take it. Not Michael. Not my father. Not anyone. The boardroom felt colder than usual. Or maybe that was just me. I walked in at exactly 9:59 a.m. Every seat was already taken. 8 faces around a polished oak table pretending they weren't waiting for the storm to hit. Michael sat at one end, calm rehearsed. My father, James, sat at the other, fingers steepled eyes, sharp between them, 2 venture capitalists, our company lawyer, Robert Jackson, 2 industry consultants my father had brought in, and Dr. Amara Wilson, our newest board member, and as far as I could tell, the only one in the room not in on the betrayal. I didn't sit right away. I wanted them to feel it. The pause, the control shifting. Then I walked to my seat like I still owned the room, because I did. Michael was the first to speak, his voice smooth, professional. Sophia, thank you for joining us. We have important matters to discuss regarding Horizon's future structure. I smiled, slow and steady. Yes, I gathered that from the cryptic midnight email I wasn't supposed to see. My father cleared his throat. There's no need for hostility, Sophia. We're all here because we care about the company. I turned to him deliberately, choosing my next words. Then let's stop pretending. What is this meeting really about? Michael launched into his performance slides, growth charts, buzzwords, scalability, operational bottlenecks, executive realignment. It was the same presentation I'd found on his laptop, only this version had been conveniently scrubbed of the most incriminating slides. Polished, clean, deceitful. 30 minutes in, he landed the punchline. So the executive committee proposes a restructuring of Horizon's leadership to position us for sustainable growth. I let silence settle across the table like fog. Then I leaned forward, calm, controlled, deadly. Interesting, but you left out a few slides. Michael froze. I pulled out my tablet, connected it to the boardroom screen, and with one tap brought up his file, the real one. Slide 1, Leadership Transition Plan. Slide 2, my demotion. Slide 3, the new CSO. Slide 4, the NDA signed with Dr. Lisa Patel from Enzitech 2 weeks ago. Gasps, shuffling papers. Dr. Wilson leaned forward. One of the VCs whispered something to the other. Robert Jackson, our lawyer, suddenly found his coffee very interesting. My father's face darkened. Michael tried to speak. Sophia, this was just a draft. I didn't let him finish. Really, because it includes finalized dates, outside hires, and implementation phases. Seems very non-draft to me. Michael stood up, tried to pivot. Sophia, this isn't personal. It's about Horizon's future. You're brilliant, but the company needs experienced business leadership. I didn't flinch. You mean leadership that works behind the founder's back, that manipulates board members with curated data and hush-hush deals. My father slammed his palm on the table. That's enough. You're being emotional, and it proves our point. This isn't how business works. I looked around one by one. He's right. This isn't how business works. This is how betrayal works. Then I reached for my phone. And just to clear up any doubt about the intent here, I'd like you all to hear something. I hit play. Michael's voice filled the room, the recording from our home office, captured by our security system. James, we need to move faster. She's asking questions about the new contracts. No, she doesn't suspect anything about the CEO transition yet. I've been meeting with board members individually. Johnson and Phillips are on board. They see the upside once we put a seasoned CEO in place. By next month, she'll be back in the lab where she belongs, and we can run this company properly. The room fell silent. Michael turned pale. My father's mouth opened, then closed again. Finally, Michael found his voice. That's illegal. You can't just record private conversations. Robert finally looked up. Actually, Oregon is a one-party consent state. If Dr. Chen wasn't part of the conversation but it was recorded inside the home with her security system, it's legal. Michael's face hardened. So, what you think that recording changes anything? The concerns about your leadership are still valid. I stood up slowly, taking my time. No, Michael. That recording doesn't change everything. It just proves what I already knew. I looked around the table again. This company hasn't outgrown me. You and my father have simply outgrown your integrity. Then I turned to face the board directly. I'm calling for an official vote on the leadership structure of Horizon Biotech. As per our bylaws that requires 1 week's notice, we'll reconvene next Friday at 10 a.m. My father barked out, "Where are you going? We're not done here." I paused at the door, turned back one last time. Actually, I have a company to run. And unlike some people in this room, I do it transparently. Then I walked out, head high, hands shaking. But my spine, solid steel. I had 7 days to gather evidence, allies, and the truth. 7 days to remind them who built this company. And I wasn't going down quietly. I didn't go home. I walked straight from the boardroom to my office, shut the door behind me, and let the weight of it all crash down. For 5 full minutes, I let myself fall apart. 5 minutes to feel the betrayal. 5 minutes to cry. 5 minutes to breathe through the pain of realizing the 2 men I should have been able to trust most had been conspiring to erase me. And then I stood up, wiped my face, fixed my hair, and called the one person I still trusted completely. "Maya, can you come in here?" Maya Lee had been with me since the beginning, back when I couldn't pay her in anything but promises and stock options. She stayed when everyone else walked away. If there was one person I knew was on my side, it was her. She stepped in her usual warm expression, quickly fading when she saw my face. "Clear my schedule for the next 3 days," I told her. "No meetings unless they're mission critical, and I need total discretion for what I'm about to tell you." She nodded, sat down, listened. I told her everything, from the midnight email to the stolen leadership plan to the recording. When I was done, she didn't blink. "Those bastards," she said, first time I'd ever heard her swear. "What do you need me to do?" Everything I said. I need every document, every contract, every comms thread. I want to know exactly what's been happening behind my back and who's been helping them. Maya was already typing before I finished speaking. "I've had suspicions," she muttered. "That new consulting firm, charging triple what we paid before and delivering half the results." I looked them up. They're owned by Michael's old business school roommate. I raised an eyebrow. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried," she said softly. 3 weeks ago. You told me to take it up with Michael, since operations was his department. That one hit hard. I had handed over control. I had handed him the knife. "That ends now," I said. "I'm still CEO, and it's time I acted like it." The next 3 days were a whirlwind. We worked late into every night, digging through files, contracts, expense reports, emails. We followed the trail of inflated vendor fees, backdoor consultant deals, and investor meetings I'd been intentionally excluded from. And what we found? It wasn't criminal, but it was calculated. Michael had been embedding his people in key positions. My father had been steering our strategy toward his old-school industry contacts that slowed innovation in favor of proven returns. And quietly, slowly, they'd been crafting a narrative that I was brilliant, but obsolete visionary, but volatile, a scientist, not a CEO. By Thursday night, we had a 90-page report. Performance metrics under my leadership. Evidence of conflict of interest. Emails showing manipulation of the board narrative. And most chilling of all, early drafts of a new holding company structure designed to dilute my ownership without my knowledge. It hadn't been filed yet, but the groundwork was there. I needed legal clarity, so I called Robert Jackson, our lawyer, the same man who sat silently in the boardroom just days ago. "Robert, I need to speak off the record." We met in a coffee shop across town, neutral territory. No company logos, no tech. He looked tired, heavy like someone carrying things they weren't allowed to name. "I can't give legal advice against company executives," he said. "That would be a conflict of interest." Then he slid a folder across the table. "But as someone who's been here since the beginning, I thought you deserved to see this." Inside draft paperwork, shell company names, ownership restructuring clauses that would have gutted my voting power quietly, legally, and completely. I stared at the folder. I felt rage, but not surprise. Thank you, I said, my voice low but steady. He nodded. You've got a fight ahead of you. Just remember, in corporate war, truth and preparation usually win. That night, I didn't sleep. Michael hadn't come home since the boardroom. He was staying at a hotel to clear his head. I didn't care. At 3 a.m., I stood by the window of my apartment, staring out at Portland's skyline. Rain streaked the glass city lights, blurred like tears I hadn't let fall. How had I gotten here? How had love and loyalty turned into this? I allowed myself 30 minutes to mourn the version of my life that was already gone. Then I turned back to my desk, because tomorrow was the vote, and I was ready. Friday morning, cold, wet, gray Portland wore the mood like a warning. I dressed with intention, charcoal suit, no jewelry, hair pulled back tight. Professional, unapologetic, ready for war. At 8:00 a.m., I stepped into the office. Maya was already there, eyes sharp, papers stacked. Printer still warm. She handed me a folder. Final version printed and backed up. Presentation. Loaded to the boardroom system, synced to your tablet, and... She smirked. Michael's laptop is mysteriously undergoing IT maintenance this morning. I stared at her. You're brilliant. Let's make sure you get to keep saying that, she said. At 9:55 a.m., I walked into the boardroom. Same room, same faces, but everything had changed. Michael and my father sat close together, their confidence radiating like cologne. They believed they'd done enough, that the momentum was still theirs, that I would fold under pressure. They didn't realize pressure is where I sharpen. I sat at the head of the table, my seat, and I opened the meeting myself. Before we proceed with the vote, I'd like to distribute some materials and make a brief presentation. Michael cleared his throat. Sophia, we should follow protocol. We are, I said, calm, cool, in control. As CEO, I'm entitled to present information relevant to the motion, and this is very relevant. Maya passed out folders one by one. Horizon's logo gleamed on the covers, the logo I designed 6 years ago on my kitchen table. My father flipped his open. What is this? He asked. A full breakdown of Horizon's performance under my leadership. The numbers that were missing from your slides last week, along with documentation of unauthorized decisions, unethical contracts, and attempts to undermine the CEO through back channels. I clicked the screen to begin my presentation. The room fell quiet. Slide after slide, I laid it all bare. Growth charts, client satisfaction, innovation milestones, followed by Michael's inflated contracts, undisclosed personal connections, board meeting exclusions, and finally the holding company plan meant to dilute my ownership and bury my voice. Michael turned red. Where did you get this? By doing my job, I said. By leading transparently. He tried to push back. This is being blown out of proportion. You're framing normal operations as conspiracy. Dr. Wilson leaned forward. I've reviewed these materials, and frankly, I find the pattern deeply troubling. The venture capitalists looked uneasy. One of them finally spoke. Michael told us these plans had Sophia's input. I looked them dead in the eye. He lied. My father stood up, angry, predictable. Sophia is emotional. She's twisting facts. She doesn't understand what it takes to lead a company of this size. No, I said, standing too. What I understand is that you needed my science, my patents, my name, but never thought I was enough to lead what I built. You were happy to exploit my work until it threatened your control. Then I looked at the board, every single person. Let me be clear. I founded this company. I hold the patents. The science is mine. The relationships with our clients mine. If you vote me out today, I will remain legally obligated by my contract. But my vision, my future innovations, they go elsewhere. The silence was suffocating. Michael softened his tone, tried to pivot again. Sophia, we don't need to make this adversarial. Let's talk about a compromise. I shook my head. I compromised for years. Every time I let you take another piece of my company. Every time I let you convince me I wasn't ready. I'm done compromising with people who plan my removal behind my back. I placed both hands on the table steady. It's time to vote. But before anyone could speak, Dr. Wilson raised a hand. Before we cast votes, I'd like to propose something. All eyes turned to her. Given the serious governance concerns raised today, I recommend a restructuring not to replace Dr. Chen, but to protect her role as CEO and ensure accountability across leadership. She laid out her proposal. I would remain as CEO with full authority over science strategy and client relations. Michael would stay as CFO, but under strict reporting and oversight. An independent audit would review all disputed contracts. And James, my father, would step down as chairman to be replaced by an independent director. The board murmured, whispers, calculations. And then, the vote. One by one, they went around the table. Dr. Wilson, yes. The venture capitalists, yes. The consultants, yes. Robert, yes. Only Michael and my father voted no 5-2 motion passed. My father stood without a word, stormed out. Michael lingered, his eyes dark, calculating. This isn't over, Sophia, he said under his breath. I met his gaze. You're right, it's not. But Horizon's future no longer includes shadows and secrets. He left, and I stood alone in the boardroom, victorious, shaking. Still standing. Victory is rarely clean. It doesn't come with confetti or a closing score. It comes with paperwork and silence. And people who won't meet your eyes in the hallway. The Monday after the vote, everything felt different. Not fixed, not whole, but shifted. The independent audit began immediately. What it uncovered confirmed everything Maya and I had suspected and more. Bloated contracts, conflicts of interest, procurement decisions driven by favoritism, not performance. Several deals were terminated within weeks. The financial bleeding was stemmed. Michael lasted 2 more months. He couldn't handle the oversight, the limits, the loss of backroom influence. He resigned as CFO, citing a need to pursue new opportunities. We filed for divorce the next day. My father stayed. Technically, he kept his board seat but lost his title. No more chairman, no more override power. Our relationship was strained, distant civil. He didn't speak much in meetings anymore, but he watched. And something in his gaze had changed. Not warm, not apologetic, but maybe finally respectful. Dr. Wilson became our new chair. She brought with her structure integrity and just enough distance from the internal drama to keep everyone honest. Under the new leadership framework, Horizon thrived. We signed our largest contract to date, a global deployment deal with a multinational waste management company. The kind of deal that would have been impossible a year earlier. The kind of deal built not on politics or manipulation, but on results. On the 1-year anniversary of that fateful boardroom battle, we opened a new lab, a state-of-the-art research center that I designed myself. Glass walls, living plants, a wall etched with the chemical structure of our core enzyme. I stood at the ribbon cutting, looking out at our now 110 employees. Maya was in the front row, beaming. Dr. Wilson stood just beside her, calm, strong, steady. Horizon was built on one belief, I told the crowd. That science can save us if it's protected, nurtured, and allowed to lead. We've been tested. We've been challenged. But standing here today, I know one thing for certain. Integrity scales. Vision scales, and purpose wins. They clapped. But what I felt was quieter than applause. It was something I hadn't felt in a long time. Belonging. Later that day in my new office overlooking the river, Dr. Wilson dropped by with a bottle of champagne. To surviving a corporate coup, she said, pouring 2 glasses. To thriving because of it, I corrected, raising mine. She studied me for a moment. You know, when I first joined the board, James said you were brilliant but naive, that you needed protection from the business side of things. I laughed. Let me guess, you believed him. At first, she said honestly, but not for long. Sophia, I've worked with a lot of founders. Most collapse under pressure. You used it to build something stronger. I looked out the window. The skyline glowed with the last of the afternoon sun. The hardest part wasn't saving the company, I said. It was accepting that the people I loved, the people who should have been my foundation, were the ones trying to bury me. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she raised her glass again. And yet, here you are. Still standing, I said. No, she smiled, still rising. 6 months after Michael resigned, Horizon had settled into a rhythm. Our new chief science officer, Dr. Kai Matsumoto, was brilliant, focused, grounded. The kind of leader who knew when to challenge me and when to step back and let vision lead. 2 new patents were filed. We secured our first major implementation in Asia. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But I've learned to listen to the silence. Sometimes when things get too quiet, that's when the real storm is forming. It came on a Monday. Maya rushed into my office, breathless, tablet in hand. And Maya never rushes. You need to see this, she said. She handed me the screen, a press release, polished, shiny poison. Catalyst Bioscience, a new era of practical biodegradation. Founder and CEO, Michael Chen. Chairman of the board, James Chen. My ex-husband, my father, together again, this time not trying to take my company, but trying to replace it. I read the description twice, 3 times. Leveraging proprietary technology to deliver scalable, market-aligned biodegradation solutions, balancing innovation with real-world business strategy, poised to lead the next phase of the waste management revolution. It was everything Horizon had stood for. Twisted, watered down, packaged to appeal to investors who wanted results without the inconvenience of ethics. And the part that chilled me the most, leveraging proprietary insights from leading enzyme technologies. Michael had been inside every lab meeting. He'd seen our roadmap, our pain points, our future. Our patents were secure, but he knew how we thought. What we were close to solving, what we were struggling with. And now he had a platform and my father's funding. I called an emergency leadership meeting. We gathered in the conference room, my executive team, Dr. Wilson Maya. No one said anything for a moment. We just looked at the catalyst announcement on the screen. Then I broke the silence. This isn't just competition, I said. This is a shadow version of us. It's built on access, on proximity. And it's designed to steal our voice while keeping just enough of our language to confuse the market. For the next 2 hours, we strategized. We reviewed our NDAs, reconfirmed our IP protections, made a list of every client Michael had spoken to in the past 2 years. And then we did the hardest thing. We waited. Catalyst launched hard and fast. Michael gave interviews where he never said my name, but always mentioned the need for emotion-free leadership and practical, scalable innovation. He painted Horizon as idealistic, too focused on purity, too slow to scale, too married to vision. And some of the market listened. We lost 2 pending contracts within the first month. 3 more were paused. Investors started asking questions. Some of our clients started asking for comparative briefings. I didn't sleep much that month, but I didn't panic. Because while Catalyst was trying to steal headlines, I was building deeper roots. I met personally with our top 20 clients. No delegation, no slide decks, just me, the founder, the scientist, the one who gave a damn. I told them the truth about where we were going, about how our newest technology worked, about the values we weren't willing to compromise, even if it meant growing slower. One by one, those clients doubled down. And then the implementation in Asia went live. A success, a real-world case study. And suddenly Catalyst's claims started to feel theoretical. But I knew this was only the beginning. Because this wasn't about product versus product. It was about belief, about who the market would trust to lead the future. And Michael, he wasn't just chasing revenue. He was chasing me. 3 months after Catalyst launched, I did something no one on my team expected. I didn't double down. I didn't launch a PR war. I didn't fire back in interviews. I made a phone call to the CEO of the world's largest waste management company, Elizabeth Ramsey Global Waste Solutions. She was smart, direct, respected, and she had been watching both Horizon and Catalyst from the sidelines. She took the meeting. We sat across from each other in a glass conference room. No assistants, no distractions. Dr. Chen, she said, this is unexpected. We've been evaluating both your platform and catalysts. I nodded. That's why I'm here. Before you make a decision, I want to offer a third option. She raised an eyebrow. A third? Yes, not Catalyst, not Horizon operating alone. A partnership, strategic, scalable, global. I laid it out, all of it. A plan to integrate our enzyme technology directly into GWS's infrastructure. A true, closed-loop recycling model. Not greenwashed, not performative, genuine transformation at scale. You want us to go all in on you? She asked. I want you to go all in on impact. Catalyst is offering fast and familiar. I'm offering real and permanent. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me for a long moment, measuring. Then she said, send me the sustainability metrics. If you're serious, I'll need teeth in the contracts. I'm serious, I said, and I came ready to sign with teeth. 2 weeks later, Horizon and Global Waste Solutions announced a strategic global partnership. The deal rocked the industry. We would deploy our technology across 5 continents, backed by enforceable environmental metrics, implementation milestones, and joint accountability. It wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. We weren't the idealists anymore. We were the standard. The day after the announcement, my phone rang. My father. I let it ring twice before answering. You've handed over your company to a conglomerate, he said without a greeting. They'll water you down. Turn your vision into marketing copy. Actually, I said calmly, I built in protections, performance thresholds, sustainability clauses, enforcement rights. The tech stays pure, but it finally gets seen. He was quiet. At what cost? He asked. At the cost of doing it my way? I said, openly, legally, without backroom deals. Everything you and Michael tried to take from me, I did without sacrificing the mission. Another silence. Then softly, I hope you're right. I know I am. 6 months later, we opened our first Global Implementation Center, a Joint Horizon GWS facility. Our enzymes, our vision, their reach. The walls were glass. The air smelled like citrus and sterilized steel. On the front wall, our logo underneath it, carved in stainless steel. Integrity scales, vision wins. I gave the opening speech. Maya stood in the front row, tears in her eyes. Dr. Wilson stood beside her, steady as ever. 5 years ago, I told the crowd I mortgaged my house to chase a molecule. Everyone said it was impossible, too slow, too small, too pure. Today, that molecule is deployed across 5 continents. They clapped. But again, what I felt wasn't volume, it was weight. The weight of having survived. After the ceremony, I stood alone by the observation deck, looking out at the automated reactors. Dr. Wilson joined me. You know, she said, when you started this, everyone underestimated you. That was their mistake, I replied. She smiled. And your gift. Because when you're underestimated, they don't see you coming. They don't notice when you rise, and they never understand how you win. Not with vengeance, not with ego, but with vision. That's what they'll remember. That's what outlasts all of them. They tried to erase me, to take my name off the company I built, to turn my life's work into a footnote in their power play. But they didn't bury me. They lit the fire I had forgotten, the one I built long before they ever believed in me. I didn't just survive their coup. I used it. I rebuilt stronger, smarter, with vision they could never touch. And when they came back with a knockoff of what I created, I didn't fight them with ego. I fought them with results, with integrity, with the kind of leadership they'll never understand. Because this was never about revenge. It was about doing the work, on my terms, at my pace, with people who believed in something more than profit. This isn't a story about what they did to me. It's about what I remembered and who I became when I stopped asking for permission. This was my reclamation, and it was just the beginning. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been pushed aside, silenced, or told to stay in your lane, then this story, it was yours too.